Thank you for tuning in today to I Retire for Him, the voice and resource of the Retirement Reformation, online at retirementreformation.org. Did you know that when you retire, your calling doesn't retire? Your calling is a lifetime calling, and God wants you to get the very best out of your retirement. You've tuned in to I Retire for Him, the voice and resource of the Retirement Reformation, online at retirementreformation.org. We are dedicated to you, the retiree who loves Jesus and wants purpose, meaning, joy in all of your days, especially the ones ahead of you in your retirement. Bruce Bruinswood joins us today, the founder of the Retirement Reformation, and he's here to encourage and walk with you through retirement. And I'm your host, Jim Brangenberg. Check us out online at retirementreformation.org, retirementreformation.org, and please check us out online, Facebook, Retirement Reformation. Do you ever ask yourself questions like, how am I doing in my retirement? Am I experiencing God's best in my retirement? Do I feel fulfilled in my retirement? Questions like these to evaluate where you're at in retirement and reflect on what God is doing in your retirement are questions we need to be asking so that we can experience the most that God has for us in this final stage of life. Bruce Bruinswood was here to share his favorite 9 questions as he reflects on his retirement. Bruce, welcome back to I Retire for Him.
Thanks, Jim. This has been a good series. And so in the last podcast, we talked about the evaluative. So let me just spend a moment and explain about the difference between an evaluation and a reflection.
Okay.
Evaluation asks the question, where am I today? And the goal is to then pinpoint areas that in fact may need support or additional research, additional prayer, whatever it may be. And so the questions that we dealt with in the last podcast were kind of, where am I?
Yeah, rating. We're rating ourselves.
The questions we're going to deal with today that come from the same issues of the fruit of the Spirit, but that we come up are reflective ones about, maybe where should I be going? So one is, where am I now? And these reflective ones are more, I wonder if there's changes that need to be made. I wonder if there is more that I'm missing. I wonder if there is something else for me to reflect on. And so these reflective questions have that kind of a connotation to them, where the evaluative ones were, where am I today?
But these questions, and basically what you just said, hinge on the very fact that we can change. But I thought you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Oh, yes, you can. I'm a great example of that. If this old dog couldn't learn new tricks, man, it'd be a pretty dull life, and one that had no growth to it or no meaning and purpose and excitement. But learning new tricks or learning new approaches or different ways that God would have us respond to different circumstances, to really reflect on that and then be able to do it. I have to think that in Jesus, when the disciples would ask him questions and he'd come up with, his different answers or his different soliloquies or his different parables, I got to believe that when he took off to go pray somewhere and the disciples were around the campfire, they had to be saying to themselves, wow, he really nailed us on that one. I need to think about that some more. And they would have a dialogue, a conversation, a reflection on what does that mean and how does that play itself out in our lives. And so I think that way we need to be disciples.
So what's that first question you want us to start asking ourselves?
So here's the question, and I'm asking it of myself, and I put it in the you sense, but how do you or how do I express love to those around me? And how have others shown love to me during retirement? And then how do you wish they would? And so this issue of how do I show retirement, how do I show love, and then how do I receive love? And here's the subtle question that's there. Is there any difference between the love that I give or receive during my working years and now during my quote unquote retired years? I would suggest there perhaps are some differences that are worth reflecting on. and applying, both in giving and receiving.
And I'm going to suggest that everybody, if you're not really sure how you should be receiving love or how you best receive love, go out to 5lovelanguages.com, 5lovelanguages.com, it's the number 5, and take the test and identify your love languages and identify the love languages of your spouse that you're hanging out with all day long or your best friend that you're hanging out with so you can give and receive love the most effective way. All right, Bruce, the second question you said, what activities or aspects of my daily life bring me the most joy now that I'm retired? Why am I asking that question?
Well, things are a lot different. Maybe during your career, the thing that brought you joy was that the freeway was clear and you were able to buzz to work in about 20 minutes rather than an hour and a half. That could have brought you real joy. That's not your circumstance today. And so what are these things that have changed or that are now available because you have time, you have resources, and you have experience with you and your spouse or you and your friends that you didn't have before. And again, I think the joy that you can receive during retirement is quite different than the joy that you receive when you got an attaboy from your boss.
What's question number 3?
Where do you find peace in your life? And part of that is there any part of your life that you do find peace? And do you even know what in the world that is? So where do you find peace in your life? And are there specific places, activities, or routines that you contribute to your feeling at peace? I know for me, it's, when the weather gets a little bit better and I'm able to sit on my back porch and listen to the birds and have a glass of lemonade and talk with Judy and look at the trees in the forest where I live. Oh, wow. To be able to have the flexibility to be able to do that gives me peace. At the same time, when I'm with our small group, and as a group we come together and identify something new or different that we could do together or individually that would reflect Christ. And it's just that comes over you. Oh man, I think we got it. I think we got it. That feels so good. And so many of us are so tense all the time that we never find or feel that peace. Or when you pick up your great grandson and you hold him close. Oh my goodness, what a feeling.
Yeah. Well, when we come back, we've got a great second segment interview. And then our third segment, we'll finish up the remaining 6 questions, reflective questions, things that we should be asking ourselves to kind of peer and say, Lord, help me to see the reality of what my retirement looks like so that I can make some changes, some adjustments so that I can flourish more in my retirement. You're listening to I Retire For Him. We'll be right back.
Recreating Retirement is an interactive small group study helping you to move from nothing to what's next. You can join us on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. East Coast time on Facebook Live. Our goal for this study is to provide a group setting for interaction and new ideas while leading you through a first step in your journey from retirement to reformation. Here's the big idea. During the next 5 years, 5,000 small groups will experience this journey of discovery in churches and faith-based organizations across the country. Is your church a place where recreating retirement needs to be planted? Join us online to experience the study or prepare to lead a small group at your church or ministry. Email us at contactus@retirementreformation.org or go to our website at retirementreformation.org. That's retirementreformation.org.
Hey, welcome back to I Retire For Him. As we promised, we brought Scott Couchenour back so we can hear more about servingstrong.com. Scott, we were talking about the strategic plan you're doing for people, a 4th quarter strategic plan. And I know that when we first talked, you talked about the 6 hallmarks of a 4th quarter strategic plan. And what you said right before we left on our last podcast, you said, we've got the potential to make a bigger impact in our 4th quarter than compared to the rest of our entire lives. That's a powerful statement. And Bruce was like, yes, amen, brother, let's preach it. But we ran out of time. So I wanted to bring you back and capture those 6 hallmarks of a 4th quarter strategic plan. Can you run through those fairly quickly?
Absolutely. So imagine in your mind the picture of a star, and then the very center I call being spiritually anchored. what spiritually anchored means to you. And it's in the center because it'll touch all 5 of the other points. So that's number 1. The top point is being physically fit. What does it mean to be physically fit? The 2 top points on either side would represent being relationally rich, and the other one is being emotionally healthy. And then the bottom 2 points are being vocationally aligned and financially free. Now, let me go to vocationally aligned for a moment. When I think of vocation, I don't necessarily think what you're pulling a W-2 income out of or a 1099 income. It is whatever you put your time and energy and attention to. So as we go through the stages of life, we may need to do some alignment with what we give our time and attention to, and that's vocational alignment. So think of these like the 6 parts, they're like parts of a body. They each do their own thing, but they are interrelated so that if one suffers, the others will suffer to some degree. When we improve on one of them, the others improve to some degree, which is the reason why I think being spiritually anchored is in the center, because that single hallmark impacts all of the other hallmarks like no other hallmark. And there's a coaching question I start with when I work with clients, and that is to get them started on this framework. And that is for you to consider yourself spiritually anchored. What 3 things need to be consistently present in your life? And that gets the creative juices flowing. And you do that for all 6 hallmarks. And so that begins the process of developing a definition of how we believe that God has uniquely gifted us and designed us in our 4th quarter. And then now, with that definition of those 6 hallmarks, we can use it as an assessment tool. We can use it as a benchmarking tool so that we can begin to strategize our way to an ideal state in all 6 hallmarks. So it becomes a framework for our life.
Well, that is so powerful. I just love that. I love the way the term relationally rich. I don't think that was a term that I've heard before, but I really, that grabs that essence, and I really like it. Also realizing that there's at least 3 stages in retirement. They're not all the same. And so being able to replicate that approach that you've talked about as an entry point to each one of those stages and the slight changes that are going to come as a result of it is really powerful. So thank you for sharing that, and I look forward to our further conversations. Jim, what else you got?
This is my final question. Scott, when you see retirees being unleashed with a 4th quarter strategic plan, what happens?
Well, I think we have an amazing amount of wisdom with feet. And I think we can speak to the younger congregation, the younger members of our congregations, the younger members of our family, the younger members of our society and our community, and we can speak into that, and we can make bold and decisive action in our lives based on wisdom and based on intention. When you get a bunch of retirees who are not only moving away from this I'm giving up kind of mentality, but I'm still in the game, because 4th quarter, it doesn't, there's still time on the clock, right? This is when the game is won or lost. And so when you can corral a bunch of individuals who are tapping into their stories and creating wisdom and moving with that, making decisions, voting, participating in their churches, participating in their social communities, I think we can turn the tide of a lot of societal and cultural ills.
Wow. It's great stuff.
I'm with you, brother. Well said.
Bruce, any final questions for Scott?
No, we probably about another couple hours worth of conversation, but I think we'll take those gems that he laid out for us, and I love that centrality of where Jesus fits in the middle of everything that we do.
Yes.
Scott Couchenour with ServingStrong.com. Thanks for being an iRetire friend today.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Bruce.
We'll be right back with more, finishing up our reflective questions on iRetire for Him.
Our work on this earth doesn't end when the paycheck stops. God calls us to be faithful for a lifetime. Whether you're looking forward to retirement or you're already there, our all-small group study, Recreating Retirement, will help you understand, engage, and activate what God has for you in this fourth quarter of life. Join Retirement Reformation founder Bruce Bruinsma as you consider your past, strengths, spiritual gifts, and your passions, and how they all come together as the call God has for you in these years. Connect with us on our online community group at facebook.com/Retirement Reformation, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, or if you'd like to bring Recreating Retirement to your church, email us at contactus@retirementreformation.org. Are you ready to start your life-changing journey today?
Hey, welcome back to I Retire For Him. As we're talking about those reflective questions, the questions that we need to ask in order to it's self-reflection. Gosh, that was really hard to get out. I don't know why it was so hard to get out, Bruce. But when we look at those reflective questions, again, matching the evaluative questions, going through the 9 fruit of the Spirit, now we're talking about reflective questions relating also to the fruit of the Spirit. You asked about patience. And again, everybody's always freaked out about patience, Bruce. This is the fourth question in that reflective section. How has retirement changed your perspective on patience? Can you share a recent time when you had to be especially patient? I don't see a lot of retirees growing in their patience.
No, I think I see it's too many of us that growing in our impatience and all the things that come along with it. And so being able to be aware that is not only the tremendous value that it has when in fact you are able to be patient, particularly if you're caring for a spouse, for example, and she or he's going through whatever difficult problems they are. And all of a sudden you're stuck in the house, or you're stuck with them, or you're having to clean up a mess, or whatever it may be. And all of your spirit wants to be, whoa, rather than expressing that love through kindness. And so the next question then kind of deals with that, Jim, and that what are some acts of kindness you have performed or received recently, and how do these moments impact your life? And so there's two ways. I think we think that when someone is kind to us, boy, that's a good deal and that feels really good. I will tell you, when you extend kindness beyond your normal capacity, beyond your normal action, when you do that, you receive so much more than what it is you are giving. Mm-hmm. And so being able to reflect on that is good. And so I'll tell you, one of the ways that you can reflect on it is when you're with your grandchildren, and to take one of these questions and talk about it with him or her, or maybe your son or your daughter, or maybe a neighbor, and say, I was listening to this podcast and they asked this question, and it's worthy of reflection. And so we go to the next question, which is this: in what ways do you contribute to the goodness around you, such as through volunteering, helping neighbors or others, or supporting friends or family? So, when we think of goodness, we think of almost Pollyanna type things, but this one's got some real teeth to it. It's the contribute to the goodness of helping someone else. And when we do that, we turn from inward and all the grumpiness to outward, and the joy that comes as a result of the kindness, and then the goodness that comes along with that.
But you use a very interesting word in that question: contribute. In what ways do you contribute? So it's not about doing good things. You say contribute. Why did you use that word contribute? You never use words without purpose. Why contribute?
Well, I think contribute is a full action item, that I'm bringing all of who I am to what is needed. Not just a surface, not just something that is incidental, but I am bringing who I am, who God has made me to be able to address the needs of others. And when that is a contribution, it's not just a doing, but it's a contribution. A doing can be, you can pick up your socks. That's a doing. But making sure that your stuff is organized so your spouse doesn't have to do it, that's contributing to the goodness. I don't know if that's a good example.
Well, really, when we use
Judy
the word,
would understand it.
Yeah, when we use the word contribute, we think of the word gift. You're giving a gift. You're contributing of something that you have that you can give to somebody else. It's just a powerful word. Contribute's a big word. All right, so then we jump to faithfulness, the fruit of the Spirit, faithfulness. How do you maintain faithfulness in your relationships and beliefs in retirement? Are there challenges you face in staying committed? Maintain faithfulness. Talk to me about that.
Well, what God asks us to do is to be faithful. And when I'm focused on myself, my faithfulness fades. When I'm focused on others and some of the other challenges from the other questions that we have, my faithfulness grows. And so am I being faithful to what God has asked me to do? Am I being faithful to who it is that he wants me to be? Am I faithful in my relationships with my spouse or my neighbor or the difficult people in my life? But this whole idea of faithfulness, and we say in the Retirement Reformation, we are called to be faithful for a lifetime. The whole 30 or 40 years that we're talking about, and to be able to grow in that faithfulness, in that understanding what it means to reflect Jesus in all that we do.
I think so many of us miss, Bruce, that the point that God is not so much interested in all the things we do. He wants us in our fullness. He just wants us. He wants us to learn how to abide, how to rest in him. And the outflow of that abiding and resting is this fruit that automatically grows in us. All right, question number 8.
I believe my rights are the most important thing for me to protect. We talked a little bit about that.
No, we're on the reflective questions because it was how do you practice gentleness?
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine.
Yes,
how do you practice gentleness in your interactions with others, especially in difficult situations, which goes to that rights conversation we had when we were doing evaluative stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That practice gentleness.
So you better read. Yeah, the gentleness area for particularly, I'm about 6'3.5", and I'm about 250. And so, for all my life, I've been a big guy. And when people see big guys, they often expect more, and often in a self-defensive kind of way. I think my gentleness was lacking. I used the size and the mental capacity to be not whatever the opposite of gentle is, and to be overbearing, perhaps, or to be belittling rather than gentle, and to be able to come to a point to say that that's not what God wants. That's not who he created me to be. And so this whole idea of learning to be gentle has been a huge ongoing role for me. It's still ongoing. It doesn't stop. And so when I find myself ready to utter some words or to take some action that certainly would not be described by anyone as gentle, then the Holy Spirit, clicks in my head and go, Bruce, remember that you're gentle is what Jesus was in the midst of his strength. So not to be weak, but to be gentle.
Yeah, I think Jesus was kind of driving that point home when he nicknamed James and John the sons of thunder, because they were like bulls in the china shop wherever they went, and he was trying to get that conversation going. All right, so then talk to me about the final question. Question number 9: what challenges in retirement require you to exercise self-control, and how do you manage those situations? you're supposed to have self-control in retirement.
Yeah, you're supposed to have self-control all the time. And those questions that we asked that dealt with the emotions, for example, self-control is the act of being able to control your words, your deeds, your body posture, your action, all of those things in a way that reflects the fruits of the Spirit that are listed up above. Without self-control, in fact, you will not be able to either experience or to be able to demonstrate the fruits of the Spirit. And so I really think self-control is a big one. It's what's the opposite of self-control? Flying off the handle would be a example. Showing exasperation would be another example. Putting someone else down, whether you know them or not, is an example. And so self-control is what comes out of your mouth, what registers in your brain, and how you address an issue or issues that come in front of you.
Bruce, these 9 reflective questions, if we ask these of ourselves on a regular basis, what kind of life do you think we'll experience in the final phase of our lives?
I think it will help us to grow and mature. We say that one of the benefits of longevity is that we have the opportunity for growth, to be able to grow spiritually, to be able to grow emotionally, to be able to grow in all the different ways that we have that opportunity to. And I think these are the questions, or some of the questions, that will be the prompts to us to be able to identify the areas where growth needs to take place, and will give us the pathway to be able to be on that growth pattern that will lead us to a closer relationship with Jesus and a more reflection of him to the world.
So powerful. I love this series, really. The questions we need to be asking in our retirement, why we should be asking them. And then we asked 9 evaluative questions and ranked ourselves, give ourselves a metric to work against. And then we asked the reflective questions. I mean, really kinds of questions that we should ask in our quiet time almost every day, but certainly to be done on a monthly basis, and maybe even ask our spouse to answer those questions about us. Whew, talk about throwing the fire. What a great series, Bruce. Thanks for bringing it to us. Bruce, the name of your book that's coming out that really highlights living out the fruit of the Spirit in retirement is called?
Walking in the Fruit of the Spirit.
Awesome. And it's coming out in June.
At every age and life stage is the subline to that.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward for that coming out, and this is a good intro for it, actually.
It really is.
And we can go from there. Matter of fact, let me just add one more thought, Jim. Whether you're talking about the reflective questions or the evaluative ones, what a great way to put on your prayer list. Pray your way through each one of those and listen to what the Spirit has to say to you. And I think that growth that we talk about will not only be a pipe dream, but it will be a reality.
Yeah, it's a great one. Thanks, Bruce. You've been listening to I Retire for Him, the voice and resource of the Retirement Reformation, with your host, Jim Brangenberg, and Retirement Reformation's very own founder, Bruce Brynsma. We're Christ followers enjoying God's best on our way from retirement to reformation, so we can ultimately say, I retire for Him.
I retire for Him.
Thanks for listening to I Retire for Him with your hosts, Jim and Martha Brangenberg, and Retirement Reformation founder, Bruce Brynsma. I Retire for Him is the mouthpiece of the Retirement Reformation. Most Christians tend to follow the world's pattern of rest and self-pampering during retirement. However, in your retirement, you can be focused on God's unique call to love, serve, and help others. This can be your best season of life if you take advantage of a life's worth of knowledge and experience and combine it with a greater freedom of time and money, and invest it all in the generations both preceding and following you. The Retirement Reformation is encouraging Christians to find and follow God's call in all seasons and aspects of life, especially in retirement. Take time to sign the manifesto at retirementreformation.org and explore the wealth of resources available on our site. Join this movement of God and journey from retirement to reformation so you can say, I Retire for Him. Go to retirementreformation.org.